Absolutely.
Wait, hold on, Mike. How did this girl start talking black? Can you describe? Can you do an impression of this white girl who tried to hit on you by talking black?
You guys know the YouTube. You guys know the YouTube. What's her name? Sensation Whoa Vicky or whatever she's called. You guys ever heard of her?
No.
Oh my god. So there's this white girl on the internet called Whoa Vicky who will pretend like she's black or will put on an accent to present herself as more for the streets, right? Where she'll be like, she'll just have this southern drawl while she's talking. She'll be like, "What you mean I do this?" And it's like, what is going on? Like, that is exactly how this girl was talking to me. Oh, and she said boy.
Oh, I know this girl. Oh god, I know this girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the worst.
Oh. So yeah, it was just one of those that at the gym where because she didn't have her goggles, she couldn't tan. And I told this girl, like, yeah, sorry, we don't allow you to tan even though you don't have your goggles. She's like, I'm like one of you guys, you know, I just chill with you guys, boy, and like, you know, I'm like, yeah, please go get goggles, please.
And Mike was like, madam, that would absolutely not be acceptable. One is not allowed in the tanning booth without goggles.
Yeah. Thou must get your goggles, ma'am.
Anyways,
good lady.
we are the Leg Kick Podcast. Hold on, my dog's crying. 1 second.
Take two. Take two.
We are the Leg Kick Podcast.
Sure.
Huh?
Take two, ladies and gentlemen.
No. We're keeping it. We're keeping it. Jeremy's on the phone here. Unprofessional. Jeremy, turn your damn call off. Jeremy, I don't care if you're on the phone with, you know, CEOs in Kuala Lumpur and they're delivering 100 pounds of feta cheese to your house tonight. You make them wait, okay? You make that feta cheese wait. Anyways.
That was actually... Oh my gosh, are we recording? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was about to incriminate myself about the hit I just put out on somebody.
What?
Well, I'll look forward to fighting that hitman later tonight. Anyways,
you're definitely not keeping that in.
We are yes, we are. We are the Leg Kick Podcast, and we're honest with our patrons. Coming off of a disappointing UFC card, a surprising Bellator card, and coming off of sheer utter exhaustion and me getting a $150 ticket for parking on the sidewalk, and then getting flipped off by a parking parking person.
That's hilarious. Wait, why didn't
really?
you put him into a rear naked like immediately?
Her.
So?
These hands are rated E for everyone.
Put a hit out on her?
Yeah, these hands are rated E for everyone.
Speaking of hits, did anybody ever end up watching The Irishman?
Hot garbage, man. I'm tired.
You didn't like it? I wasn't sure. I had mixed feelings.
Trying to tell me what a good movie is. The Irishman is not a good movie. I don't want to see no what's it called? Computer generated face. Younger face of like Robert De Niro and all these old guys. Like, I don't care about. Like,
I feel like they were working off of the fumes of like Godfather and me. I enjoy those type of movies, but I had mixed feelings about them. Yeah.
I mean, I'd never seen it. There's an all-star cast in it, evidently, but you can only bank off the stardom of, octogenarian actors for so long. At some point, you got to retire them.
See,
here's my Al Pacino can only star in so many Jack and Jills before you say, Al, let's call it a career, buddy. Godfather was great. Scarface really sucked. But you know what?
Whoa.
Wait, time out. Scarface sucked?
Well,
Scarface. Hot take. Scarface. Awesome.
That is a microaggression. You can't say that in front of black people. Like, Scarface.
It's a Cuban movie. It's
low-key racist to say that.
You guys black Cubans? Are you guys surrounded by Yoel Romero's?
Take off my don't make me take off my hood and get ignorant out here. All right.
Yeah, it's low-key racist.
Like, you don't have to get ignorant.
Scarface in front of black people.
Huh?
It's low-key racist to say you don't like Scarface in front of black people.
Dude.
That's like my favorite movie.
It's a Cuban movie starring an Italian actor. What you talking about? What are we talking about here? Anyway, Scarface sucked. It's if you've heard your friends talk about the 5 best moments in the movie, you've pretty much seen the highlights of a movie. It's an uncompelling story.
Wow. Whoa.
Generic. Characters' motivations don't make sense. What can I tell you? Tony Montana is a completely flat character with no character development throughout the entire film.
And here, I thought I would have the hottest take by
Tony Montana's wife is just awful
character.
Pelican.
You told me Omar Sosa was a chole gatosa. You told them to make me laugh. You make me laugh. Yeah, it's terrible Cuban accent. Jesus.
You look at me like I'm the bad guy? But
that Cuban accent is making Fidel Castro roll in his grave. I will say.
Oh my Lord!
What is that uncontroversial that Al Pacino had a terrible Cuban accent in that movie? Even people who love that movie are like, yeah, his accent.
I think the thing about Scarface, though, oh my goodness, we're really spending a podcast talking about Scarface. All right, we're here now. I think the thing about Scarface is it's kind of similar in that Karate Kid vein, where it's like, if you really want to pick at it, you can pick at it. But it's got cult classic written all over it.
Karate Kid's a kid's movie. Let that be known.
Karate Kid's no good, man.
No, but the point I'm trying to make, though, is there's a
Karate Kid's good in that cheesy 80s way, right? It's full of nostalgia and 80s cheese, and it's just that classic story of a young white student being mentored by an old Asian man.
I'm gonna jump in here. I'm gonna jump in here right now, and I could go into the deep psychological things that make Scarface an North American cinematic classic. But all I really gotta say is, how could you not like a movie where some dude just shoots his way to the top? Like,
let me tell you, Jeremy,
gangsterest of gangsters in American movie history. Like,
wait, hold on. Vito Corleone and Michael Corleone want their title back.
No, he was the boss.
No.
A boss isn't really a gangster. He's the boss. He doesn't ball up his fist. Scarface balled up his fist and took on the world. I take all your fucking bullets. You want a piece of me? Come and get a piece of me. Say hello to my little friend. You want to play games? Let's play games. Come on, bro.
That's the most animated I've ever seen, Jeremy. But honestly,
that's my favorite movie, son. Like, you're coming for the GOAT. The GOAT.
I saw it this year for the first time. That's your problem. And I was thoroughly disappointed. I'd heard it hyped up so much through my childhood. I'd seen a couple of scenes, like the bathtub scene where they burst in and kill those guys. Honestly, I was just underwhelmed by his rise to the top. I feel like you see him working in the Cuban sandwich stand. He gets contracted by those guys. He kills the boss who he was working for, and then all of a sudden it fast forwards and he's surrounded by this money. I'm like, what? You skipped the whole rise to power story. You just skipped it. He kills this guy, now all of a sudden he's powerful. And man, his wife is possibly one of the most obnoxious characters in all of film.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah. She doesn't have a single redeeming quality. Yeah. She treats him like absolute dog shit while he was nothing, and then she treats him like dog shit while he's on top. Like, she has zero redeeming features.
Did you think you were supposed to relate to these characters in any way?
Oh wow, I used that word.
Well, you can tell a compelling story and still make it, I don't know, man. To call it the greatest movie of all time is a bit much for me. I thought I was thoroughly disappointed.
It's a movie.
I didn't say it was the greatest movie of all time. It was my favorite.
I was trying to see. Here's the thing. My girl's really into action and martial arts movies, like kind of like Marvel stuff. She's like, anything with like a fight scene, she'll watch. And I tried to show her Kill Bill, and she didn't like Kill Bill, but I understood why. Right?
That's sacrilege.
Yeah,
that is actually sacrilege. Kill Bill might be one of the best, best movies of that genre ever made.
Here's the problem: is that when you look at Kill Bill from a 2020 lens, or like at the time it was like 2019, you can pick at it with a little bit of a stick there. It's like, why is she doing this? Why is she do it? Can't she just do this?
But that's the style of movie that Tarantino makes, right? It's over the top. Characters' motivations, they make sense, but like it's a comic book kind of world. That's Tarantino, right?
Exactly, right? And so I think the whole problem is you're looking at it as a older man and living in a different era than what those movies were kind of made for and what they were playing off of, right?
I don't know, because I can appreciate some 80s cheese, right? Anyways, We are the movies podcast. No,
Yeah, really.
We're coming off not a very strong card. We'll say that, but
I thought it was okay.
No, I thought Bellator was fine. I thought Bellator was fine.
Bellator had a couple good ones on it, but we're the Leg Kick podcast, here to educate you on the world of mixed martial arts, apparently microaggressions, but certainly macroaggressions. How about that? So I'm here with my co-hosts. We've got Jalof Jeremy, boxing correspondent, NCAA football player. Jalof, say something for yourself.
Hey guys, how we doing?
We've got Maverick Melanin Mike Asiffo, the man, the myth, the Munchausen syndrome. I don't know.
What?
What? Anyways,
that Scarface debate took too much out of me. It took everything out of me. I'm done for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, I was about to get ignorant out there. I was
He's great. Mike is current MMA fighter, Muay Thai Ontario competitor, nearly won it all, but his ankle gave out on him. Goddamn ankles.
Yeah, don't remind me.
But also, Mike is a former broadcaster, journalist, reporter on the Raptors, and he's here to join us. Michael Asiffo, say something to the good people of the Leg Kick.
That's honestly one of the nicest intros you've ever given me. Usually it's something about Joseph Kony. So, I'm actually kind of happy about that one.
Oh, yeah, and he kind of looks like Joseph Kony. Anyway, it's the drugs, Mike. It's the drugs. Say something for yourself.
Oh, hey, everybody. Sorry for the 20 minutes we spent on Scarface and whoa, Vicky. So
I prefer Slow Kenny to Whoa, Vicky. And finally, we have all-around good gentleman, author of 50 Things White Men Should Not Say, a fellow socialist, aficionado of martial arts, and all-around good guy. David.
He good guy.
I am good guy. I am good guy. Welcome. Hello. Hi. Thank you for joining us this week, Stefano.
And I'm your other host, Stefano. Had a few fights, did a couple things, and here I am. So if you would like to support the podcast, we don't currently have a way to support it by financial means, as we're still growing. But if you'd like, what?
I mean, if you want to support us, you can always send an interact to the legkick1@gmail.com.
We won't complain if you do that. We certainly won't be upset. But in the meantime, if you don't have any money to spend, first of all, if it's between feeding your kids and sending us money, definitely send us money. But you'd like the podcast, subscribe to us. We have a whole back catalog of interesting content you can listen to. Tell friends about the podcast. It always helps when you do, especially some fans of mixed martial arts. And with that being said, we're going to get into the news.
Finally. No.
So,
finally. Okay. There's one thing I really wanted to talk about before we jump into the news. Did you guys see that video of Diego Sanchez hanging up upside down, getting punched in the head?
Oh my God! I also watched the BJJ Scouts. He put out a little 2-part clip documenting this whole thing. Yeah, that was hilarious and awful at the same time. He put out a whole thing about it, just kind of discussing the situation. He put out this one clip. It was at some kind of a fighter meeting interview where the commentators are there, Paul Felder's there. Diego Sanchez says his piece, and then Joshua Fabia gets up, goes on this tirade. He's like, "You people out there, you keep smirching me, and you commentators, you make sure you get the story right." And he just goes on this unhinged, just unintelligible tirade, self-absorbed nonsense. And then Paul Felder looks at him. He's like, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about." It was hilarious.
You know the sad thing about this whole Diego Sanchez thing is that
no nudity on his OnlyFans?
Yes. But the sad thing in all this too is that sprinkled in all of this Joshua Fabia nonsense, and don't get twisted, it is nonsense, and sprinkled in the fact that Diego Sanchez needs a lot of help right now. Is that there are legitimate gripes. I watched that interview again and I was like, there are some legitimate gripes in the way the UFC does business, right? Specifically with their older fighters. And because it's Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia talking about it, no one's going to listen. No one.
Yeah, I feel like the main narrative now is, haha, look at the circus, when, like, you know, I'm really conflicted when any train wreck comes about like this, because I do feel bad for Diego, and I have enjoyed his career, and the fact that he's given his soul and his heart and his body and his mind and everything he's had to this sport, right? I listened to that interview Mike sent us, and he suffered from addiction. He's, you know, and yeah, the UFC doesn't treat their athletes well, especially in the later stages of their career. They chew them up, spit them out, and you know, this is the result. They don't have medical care afterwards. A lot of these people aren't great at managing their money. They don't have pensions. And
even things like you know, in every other sports league, they have like a meeting, a financial literacy meeting. They have like a 4-part financial literacy meeting for all their rookies in like the first week, right? The first week they get drafted.
That's awesome.
They you know, why not sit a guy down and be like,
because this isn't a league. Like, those guys are.
I beg to differ.
Yeah, I would not like to differ. This isn't a league. Like, this.
But that's the problem. They get to. Sorry, I keep cutting people.
It is a league, David.
I'm saying, like, the UFC doesn't really owe. You know, as long as they keep going with the narrative of these guys are contractors, then they really don't have any kind of obligation to promote financial literacy to contractors.
You're contractors, but by the way, you're not allowed to have income from sponsors, and you're also not allowed to fight outside of our organization. Sounds like a contractor to me.
Yeah, right.
Also, we have a monopoly in North America, so
this is kind of the problem that you run into when you talk about these things. It's like, the way they do business is kind of skewed because of the fact that they kind of play. They're having their cake and eating it too, and they've been able to do it for such a long time. And again, I don't hate the UFC. I think the UFC has done a lot of things to grow the sport. I fell in love with the sport. I fell in love with the Ultimate Fighter. So, you know, it's just, there are some things that make me skittish about just saying, oh, Joshua, let's laugh at Joshua Fabio and Diego Sanchez and not understand the context of what they're speaking when they do bring up some legitimate gripes that they have.
Let's laugh at Joshua Fabio because he's a charlatan and just an absolute poison dwarf. Like, he's a poison dwarf. He's the worst. And it's a tale, you know, older than time immemorial. You know, a guy in a hard spot, Diego Sanchez, you know, he was going through a divorce, clearly taken a few too many traumas to the brain, felt like he was underserved at Greg Jackson's, as many people did, and here's this guy promising him the world, and Diego Sanchez not only in a vulnerable place, but somebody who's been vulnerable to woo in the past, right?
Yeah, there was a story about him being financially, like, there was a financial advisor who took advantage of him as well. Like, there are times where Diego Sanchez has shown a propensity to be kind of, you know,
gullible,
jibbed.
Yeah.
So,
but it's unfortunate. Diego, ditch this sucker. Get the help you need. Joshua Fabia, you know, you should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, in the news, first of all, first piece of news, and this is a big one. I was really excited to learn this. Mike Asiffo finally ready to be honest with himself and stop calling himself a conservative. Now, I was really impressed when I heard this. MMAfighting.com reporting on this one. Yeah, what are you guys' initial takes on this, David?
Oh God,
I always knew this day would come. Honestly, when I read the news story, I didn't believe it. I still don't believe it. I still think Mike is a closeted conservative.
Closeted liberal, to be fair.
Pardon?
Calls himself a conservative, but he's a closeted liberal.
I'm sorry that having perspective makes me all of a sudden a liberal. Like,
no, but not having a single conservative opinion does. Anyways, first announcement, fight announcement. Aldana versus Kunitskaya at bantamweight. Expect Kunitskaya to grapple F her way to a victory.
Should be an interesting one. I like Marina Aldana. She's one of the best female boxers in the UFC, so I'll be excited to watch this one.
In other news, Jake Paul steals Floyd Mayweather's hat. Nah, we're not going to talk about that. We don't.
What? Let's do a 20-minute breakdown on that. You see, do you think that the angle that he took the hat? Oh, never mind.
We'll be like that shitty MMA channel Mind Smash. Analyze.
Oh my God! Please.
When Floyd takes off, gets his hat taken off, you can see the energy in his eyes.
Do the intro. Hello. It's
as you can see here, two combative warriors. He's like that guy is so far off the deep end. Anyways, wow, beefs within the MMA media, sphere, I suppose. Next, we've got a heavyweight clash for the interim heavyweight championship in Bellator. Valentin Moldavsky versus Tim Johnson. Now, I didn't know the Bellator heavyweight strap was vacant. Did Ryan Bader vacate his title?
I think they just need a fight to go on while he's in the Grand Prix, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. They want to keep the good times rolling, I suppose, but I was surprised that they were going ahead with an interim title fight right away. I guess it makes sense because the Grand Prix isn't going to be over anytime soon.
Yeah.
If you do a Grand Prix to crown the champion, which they did for the heavyweight belt, if you don't remember, they had like Chael Sonnen, Fedor. They had a bunch of fighting in that thing.
Oh, that was awful. Yeah, it had like 3 actual heavyweights in it.
But Ryan Bader won it, so like, why are you vacating the title and then doing this random?
Because Bader's fighting in the light heavyweight Grand Prix right now.
So like, you can't have champs?
Because I think the problem is,
what if he doesn't win? Then he loses his title.
Oh, sorry, it's an interim belt, not the vacant heavyweight belt. So that would mean that Bader would still be the champion. I don't know if he's vacated his. Yeah,
he still doesn't make any sense to me. It just sounds like a marketing plan or a marketing idea to me because it just doesn't make sense.
Oh, pretty clearly, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like it's basically to, have a title fight in a main event at a time when the heavyweight division's on pause, and the heavyweight division is one of Bellator's few, not stacked but existent divisions.
Well, I'll put it like this, guys. Like if you look at the timeline of the Grand Prix, by the time it's over, I'm thinking like absolute earliest October of this year, right? So you gotta have your heavyweights going, right? And you gotta have it mean something.
Let them fight. Let them fight. Have a number one contender fight. Like, you guys, Michael, you watch wrestling. You know the number one contender fight is a big deal. Like, what happened to that? Why does everything have to be watered down with an interim title for the maybe vacated title? Like, come on, man.
The way I see interim titles is I see them like WBC or WBO silver titles, right? Where it's like it is the number one contender, right? It is the number one contender.
LT brought up a good point, though, where interim belts allow fighters to get more money in that they get championship clauses in their contract so they can make more money. So in that case, I'm in favor of any way the fighters can get more money. However, obviously I don't think it's a reliable method of doing that. But, if the fighters are getting paid, I can't necessarily complain. But yeah, I do think that you could absolutely put on an interesting fight for a number one contender spot and have it headline a card if it's interesting.
I mean, fair enough. I think whether or not you have a belt attached to it, this is the number one contendership fight, right? This isn't. It's just I just see it more like the silver championship in boxing promotions than it is, like an actual like championship fight. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you guys have any news? I think that does us for news. Unless you guys have anything else.
Let me tell you about some news.
Wait, I definitely want to talk boxing.
Scarface sucks. Yeah. Oh, wait, you want to talk what?
I definitely want to talk boxing. Last night was probably one of the biggest fights of the year. So
let's go.
You know who talks boxing though?
Jeremy.
No, Jeremy. Yeah.
No, let's go UFC boxing, and then we'll do Bellator and PFL.
Okay. Nunes versus Juliana Pena is set for August 7th.
Oh, didn't we announce that one already?
Did we?
I'm pretty sure we did. We talked about that.
I think we talked about the fight, but not that it was set for a specific date.
We got 3 new subscribers. Let them know that let them know.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, well, Nunes is gonna win that one. What else?
But Junior Pena is not gonna stop talking shit. So gotta get her head in the smasher somehow.
Yeah, I think. Is there any other news?
No.
All right.
Oh, Glover versus Blachowicz. I know, like it was the next fight, but a day has been set for that at I believe August 7th as well. No, September 7th.
That's a good one. That'll be a fun one.
Sure.
We'll talk about that one closer to the matchup. Anyways, is it just me or does Michelle Waterson have a problem with range?
Her arms, no disrespect, Michelle. Your arms so short, man. So short.
Yeah.
But to be fair though, Marina Rodriguez has that weird like Joanna Jędrzejczyk thing where it seems like she can just sit back and wing at you and there's like nothing you can do. Like her arms look super long.
Yeah, punching technique not the greatest. She's got that very Brazilian Muay Thai kind of punching with the high elbows and whatnot. But yeah, she was just battering Michelle Waterson from the outside. And with Michelle, it seems like because of, she's a natural atom weight, small frame, very short arms, not the best boxing in the world because she operates out of that side-on stance, so not exactly the biggest feature of her game. And it seems like the only 2 ways which she can reliably hit people, interception, right, which she'll occasionally hit that, which she hit throughout the matchup. She had that very good intercepting sidekick. I like that. And the second way is to run forward in a straight line and miss 8 punches to land 1 leg kick. Is that an accurate feature of her game, do you think, that I described just there?
Yeah, but I would say... Sorry, go ahead. No,
I was going to say that I do think she's a little bit more technical than that. I think her sidekicks were actually really interesting. I think, she is a good example of how to, not effectively, but how to use Taekwondo or karate. However you want to.
Her nickname is literally
those
karate hottie.
Taekwondo kicks. Those are not like the sidekick is a karate kick. But
David, her nickname is literally the karate hottie.
I know what her nickname is. I'm saying like the technique itself
is karate. Yes,
she's a karate black belt. It's karate. She uses karate principles. It's karate. But they're both martial arts use a sidekick. It doesn't matter.
Okay, go on.
It's not even the sidekick. It's for me the spinning back kick that for me kind of like seemed a little taekwondo-ish, but sure, doesn't matter. I do think she's a little bit more technical than just running straight head first. But the problem is when she
did
comes
that like 5 times in the fight.
Yeah. No, I know.
I'm not saying she's not technical. I'm saying she has difficulty reaching her opponents with her hands. And needs to throw those like 8 punches in order to land a low kick when they're retreating.
Yeah, but you know what? Running really a straight line, though.
I get what Stefano's saying. Though. She does run herself into the fire, right? She doesn't really have a reliable entry, right? Like she doesn't have like entries. And why not operate out of the chamber into something? Like a lot of guys who do karate or taekwondo, they'll chamber their leg to get somebody to freeze and then dart in and dart out, or like Wonder Boy does it sometimes too. He'll dart in, dart out, and dart back in. He'll run something called a triple attack, or I like to call it the triple option, where you like have 3 different attacks that have the same release point that you do to get people to freeze, so they don't know what you're going to do. And Michelle doesn't
that high chambering, like you're talking about that high chambering kick where you can go snap kick, hook kick, or push kick, or right?
Yeah, right? So
you chamber your foot high, and then you can go snap kick, you can go hook kick with the heel, or you can go push straight. And
even Wonder Boy has a really good, like, just slapping.
Michelle's really good at that, too. Michelle's very good at that chamber. But it's not all about those individual techniques. It's about getting to the spot to land them, right?
Yeah, I was going to say she did do that yesterday. I felt like her sidekicks were actually really good. She actually hurt, I think it might have been the 4th round. She actually hurt Rodriguez with one of those.
No, it was the 5th. It was the 5th.
But
the 4th round.
Leg kicks were solid. Like they were giving Rodriguez some problems. So maybe she needs to build off the kick a little bit more. Easier said than done, obviously, when you got somebody like winging shots at you, like Rodriguez, and essentially walking her down like the entire fight.
See,
But I do
Rodriguez
think she
to
did a good job of mixing up the levels in her sidekick yesterday.
Yeah, but what are you? Were you finished?
Oh, I was
Yeah,
going to say,
go ahead.
Jeremy, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Like Stefano said, she needs to get in position to land those, to set up those high kicks, those question mark kicks, because she just wasn't. Yeah, it sucks. She just wasn't long enough. Her reach wasn't long enough, and maybe she could benefit from being more of a counter striker because she was really leading those exchanges a lot of the time. And I think when it comes down to it, Rodriguez, or I don't know how to pronounce her name, but they're using an H instead. Rodriguez was landing more of the power punches in those exchanges.
Mhm.
So it's like you kind of got to see where her punches are coming from, and then maybe you could, like she did with that little step to the side. I can't remember what the term they used, but it was like a Hado kick or something. She stepped to the side and gave her like a kick to the gut. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that intercepting sidekick. That was good. I think
Yeah.
one thing that was missing from Waterson's game, and I want to give credit to Rodriguez in a second because she did some interesting things in this fight that I enjoyed. One of them being counter kicking, right? Also, inside low kick and into flurries to close that range to kind of slow Michelle Waterson down along the fence. One thing that I think was criminally missing from Michelle Waterson's game, and this is something that we spoke about Wonder Boy earlier, uses, both karate-based fighters. Wonder Boy has a lot more lateral movement. And not just lateral movement for the sake of moving around the cage, right? Wonder Boy will stop directions very quickly, hit a quick 1-2, switch stances. As you follow him, that's when he hits his sidekick. He's moving unpredictably and getting you to chase, right? Whereas Michelle Waterson, it was a lot easier for Rodriguez to push her to the cage because her lateral movement, when it was there, was unidirectional, right? And that made it easier for Rodriguez to push her up to the cage, especially with
Crowder.
And then crowd her and keep her in the spot. She was able to mobilize a takedown in the fourth with that Polish throw, which was nice. I liked that, and then largely get top control, potential hole in Rodriguez's game, but not really able to enter into range.
Let me stop you there because I was going to say I was very disappointed at the tactics that Michelle Waterson and possibly her corner employed because, I know Rodriguez is getting better. I know that Rodriguez is not the same fighter who fought Ronda Marcos in 2018 or Cynthia Calvillo in 2019. I understand. But we've seen that Rodriguez is comfortable with staying on her back if you do take her down. So why are you not bringing the wrestling
That's not her game. That's not her game. Michelle Watson her name is the Karate Hottie. She's not going to grapple.
David, Michelle's career is littered with boring grappling performances. She can do it. She does it frequently. She takes opponents down and grinds them out. It's a feature of her game. It's just difficult. Wait, you want me to pull up a record? I'll do it. You give me an incredulous.
She did to Paige Van Zandt. She did to Rose and got caught for it, admittedly, but she did to Rose. She can do it if she wants to. Her grappling is underrated, right?
No, her grappling is pretty good, but it's not her. I wouldn't say like that's her strongest suit.
It's not her strong suit, but it's her back pocket.
But David, it's a feature. It's a strong feature of her game. I mean, I'll pull up a record right now, and we can look at grinding performances that she's had.
And I just want to add, I'm just like, so it's there. Here's the thing. Is it the thing, is it her primary weapon to your credit? No, it's not. But it is a thing she can do, and she has done.
Here's the issue, though. Here's the issue that I have with the lateral movement. Like, if you're going to sit in the pocket with someone with a power advantage, you're not going to be able, power advantage and reach advantage, you're not going to be able to get your strikes off or counter effectively, right? Because the strikes that you land aren't going to have the same effect as Rodriguez. You have to be on your bicycle. You have to be looking for angles, doing what Wonder Boy does from that long stance. Circle, stop, cross over the top, circle in the other direction. You know what I mean?
Waterson yesterday was trying to move laterally, like unless we were watching different fights, she was moving across the cage like a lot actually, and
Yeah,
Rodriguez
but David,
was actually.
there's a difference between just circling the cage for the sake of circling the cage and
And
using movement
educating
as a
movement.
weapon like Wonder Boy does.
I think
Like
she was
if you're
hurt,
just going to
honestly,
circle,
like-
if you're going to circle it with your back to the cage like that, and you know, you're not going to really like. How many times throughout this fight did you see Waterson hit like a decelerating punch or something like that? How many times did you see her cut a nice angle on Rodriguez and leave Rodriguez in the dust like Holly Holm did? It didn't happen. She just circled the
I'll give you
cage.
that. She cut like 0 angles. Like there was no like moving off that. I wouldn't say center line, but she wasn't really like changing the angle too much on Rodriguez, which kind of harmed her. But I would say props to Rodriguez, man. She walked her down. She hurt her like from the first round onwards. In that 3rd round or 4th round, I can't remember, but there was a couple times she could have finished her because she was just wailing punches. So I think it was more like, she had a game plan of like circling and she just got stopped and crowded. Maybe, throwing that decelerating punch, as you said, or changing angles might have helped, but Rodriguez was throwing combos. That's another big difference.
But David, if you're not there for the combos, right? Like those combos up against the fence landed because she was able to effectively crowd Waterson and keep her in place. If you're moving around the cage and being more elusive, you're not there to be flurried on, right? Like there are answers to what Rodriguez did, as effective as it was.
Waterson has the power to trouble Rodriguez, honestly, and I don't think she believes she had the power, and that's the reason she tried to, I don't know, move around.
The other thing too about this too. The other thing about this too, and I will say, is that you made a point that maybe Michelle was hurt. Yeah, and I will also say Marina Rodriguez on the feet, guys. I think she gives me Joanna vibes. Not nearly the same technician and not nearly the same polish, but she gives me a lot of Joanna vibes.
Yeah, early Joanna, right?
Yeah,
very static, cutting off like. Late Joanna is kind of circling around the cage counter, like early Joanna when Joanna was pressuring Thing to the cage, Cookie Monster. Yeah, Carla Esparza to the cage and throwing counter combinations, right? With that stiff body jab. Yeah, some of the same weapons, those cross-hook cross combinations. I see that.
Right. So yeah, and all that to say that Marina Rodriguez seems like on the feet. You're gonna run into some trouble.
You're gonna have some problems.
I thought the tide of the fight could shift after Waterson landed that sidekick, but she just didn't recognize for whatever reason that how hurt Rodriguez was. She's gonna watch that.
And also, I feel like there's one leg kick that I can remember, like pretty much dropped Rodriguez, like at least spun her around. But I just think like Rodriguez just had too much power. I was gonna say that she might have like the most, like that was a 125 fight, right?
Yeah, because it was a short notice fight for both of them.
What weight class is she?
I think they're both
115.
They're both 115s, but Michelle Waterson has fought at atom weight before.
Damn, man, Rodriguez definitely hits the hardest in the 115 division, in my opinion, because the way she
not like Whaley though.
Nah, man, comparable if not more. Because
David, are you? Is this just the baseless speculation hour? How many knockouts does she have on her record? She has 1, 2, and then
judging power by knockouts.
Like in fairness, remember when Jan? See, this is the thing. Jan always had power. Remember, Jan Blachowicz always had power. We always said he had power, but for whatever reason, couldn't stop guys. And then he just turned it on in the blink of an eye, right? So, it could just be a thing of when they hit you, it's powerful. It's just
but Jan was struggling to put together meaningful connections. Rodriguez hit Waterson with everything in the kitchen sink and failed to drop her, right? And Michelle Waterson doesn't have she's tough as nails, but it's not like she hasn't, I wouldn't say Rodriguez's power was anything remarkable in this fight. Definitely better than Waterson's, but that's most of the division, unfortunately, because she's very undersized.
Yeah, maybe that's what's, coloring my judgment is because there was such a huge power discrepancy. But at the same time, I do think she's got pretty good skills and she could definitely punch. Didn't see a lot of kicks. And another thing that I really liked from Rodriguez was her knees. Her clinch work was excellent in this fight. I felt like she was leaning on it a little bit too much early in the fight. She should have just kept it like a strict kickboxing fight, and I think she would have beat Waterson to a pulp. But each time, she would, punch Waterson Crowder to the cage, and then engage in the clinch, throw up a knee. Some of them blocked, some of them not. But like, yeah, I thought Rodriguez did a really good job in terms of kind of controlling Waterson, who was, to her credit, and this is why I'm kind of debating it. I think Waterson was trying to move, was trying to stay a little bit more mobile than Rodriguez, but Rodriguez was just hitting her too hard.
And Waterson did have her moments, like, for sure.
Yeah.
She did have her moments for sure. I think she might have even broke her jaw with that side kick to the face. Or a hook kick. Was it a hook kick?
Broke her jaw? I don't think so.
I don't know about broken jaw, but he definitely.
But she definitely.
This is the baseless speculation podcast.
No, I know, but like, it looked like it because there was like they did like a replay and it like did like a weird, like, you know, like when Colby Covington broke his jaw and it like buckled when Kamaru Usman punched him.
Remember? I don't think Marina Rodriguez has a broken jaw.
Okay, fair enough.
Something happened to her face, though.
Something did happen. It did that buckling effect that usually happens with his jaw break. Anyway, my point is that, though, with Rodriguez, is I really thought Rodriguez was going to use the grappling. Was really going to use the grappling in this fight. And I think that's the story that she's going to be kicking herself with, is that she couldn't initiate some grappling. Sorry, yeah, you're right. I think that's what's going to get Waterson kicking herself. Aside from some of the other things, like chaining some karate attacks together, like using some darts, using some lateral movement, cutting some angles, using that side kick a little more. But I really thought she should have went to the grappling a little bit, because Marina has shown she will, even against Amanda Ribas, she will stay on her back, and she has no problem staying on her back, and you can operate from there. So I think that's the one for me, right? Like,
let's move on, because we've got a couple more fights to talk about. Some of them we'll obviously talk about quickly, like the Maurice Green Rogerio de Lima one, because that was heavyweight MMA, everyone. You know what? Since I brought it up, let's just talk about that quickly. That was, I found it hilarious, because Dominic Cruz enters with like, Maurice Green, he's long and he's always able to stay on the end of his reach and pick people apart. I'm like, I'm sorry, are we watching the same person? The definition of Stefan Struve syndrome, like a tall guy that overcommits on his strikes, chooses all of the wrong weapons, and then, truth be told, the fight starts, and in every single round, Maurice Green throws this shifting right hand, just throws his entire body weight into it, and does the opposite of staying on the end of his reach. And then Rogerio de Lima, the gentleman who was choked out by a forearm choke, just kept him up against the cage, and Maurice Green had no idea what to do. Is that a good assessment of the fight?
That is a fair assessment of the fight. I do think, Green does usually at least work up the jab a little bit more. So he usually does fight long, unlike some other fighters. But man, like, it might be time up for him in the UFC, because like that other dude was not doing too much. Green was not really posing any threat throughout the fight, with all due respect. His takedown defense, non-existent. As you said, overcommitting on that straight. And once he got to the ground, like, there was nothing he could do. Like, he couldn't get the dude off him. He couldn't, like, do a
Well, that's what happens when you try and play from close guard up against the fence. You just don't do it, because your hips are smashed, and he just didn't look like he knew what he did. And anyways, and Mike, sorry,
you know what? Can I? I just want to take a blame. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I just want to take a blame.
What you're going to say? We have a lot to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that who's ever training Maurice Green should be ashamed of themselves.
Greg Jackson,
frankly. Yeah. No, then Greg Jackson
should fight.
Yeah, then Greg Jackson should be ashamed. They didn't spend enough time getting those habits out of Maurice Green, because this is a constant thing with him, where he's getting taken down at will. He is going nipple to nipple with another fighter, basically, and he's working out the close guard up against the fence. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? You know what? We gotta go. We gotta keep going. Move on.
Anyway, okay. Donald Cerrone, Alex Morono. Man, I actually thought Cerrone was looking half decent up until the finish. Morono looking quite wild, aggressive, pressure, but not the kind of pressure that necessarily can be sustained over 3 rounds. Not the intelligent sort of pressure we saw applied like by RDA against him. And Cerrone, I thought, did a decent job of body kicking under the 1-2. And Morono just Cerrone's head movement looked I'm not going to say good, because obviously it was the kind of head movement where there's not really a counter coming afterwards. It was just head movement for the sake of head movement. But yeah, Morono just caught him with that big overhand in an exchange. And guys.
Stefano, I don't know what to say today. Again, I don't know why we're disagreeing so much. I completely disagree. I think that Donald, with all due respect, legend in the sport. But man, he did not look good last night. Like, and you could tell. Like, you could tell. Like, and why I think Morono was so, I wouldn't say ill-disciplined, but so gung-ho to,
because he knew he could get him out of there.
He knew he could get him out of here. He was basically like spamming straights and winging hooks, because he knew like all he needed to do was hit him once or twice, and that buddy was going down. And I feel like, yeah, you're right. Cerrone did throw a couple good body kicks under the 1-2, like a couple, but realistically, like, Morono knew like all he needed to do was land a couple of good shots, and it was a wrap for Cerrone. And I just want to say, like, with all due respect, great legend. It's time.
It's time, yeah. I mean, I was more excited to see him fight Diego Sanchez, to be clear, because that would have been kind of like the seeing off of two legends, you know?
And that would have been a fair fight.
But, you know, to my point, like, there have been people that have been a little bit overzealous with their pressure, like Alex Hernandez against Cerrone.
Oh, yeah, and he got schooled.
And he's run them on two intercepting knees, you know, slowed them down, worn them out. And, you know, you have to look at the Darren Till performance compared to the Hernandez performance, right? Till pressured Cerrone, made him miss, and beat him up along the fence, right? Pushed him to the fence like a wounded animal and beat him up. Whereas Hernandez was just pressure, and ended up being there for the counter, right? Pressure should be intelligent. Unless you, intend to block every punch with your face, you can take a step back and then hop right back on the offense. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I think it's time for Cerrone. I think it's been time for quite a while. He's talking about going to 155 and making it a run, run there. Not. Absolutely not. 55 is scarier than it's ever been. Can you imagine if he ran into someone like Rafael Fiziev there? They fed him to Fiziev to get Fiziev some stank.
Absolutely not. Like, that's the thing with this fight, is that I looked at it and I said, this looks like even when Cerrone looked okay, I was like, this looks as if it's the amateur who's learning, and he's facing the pro mixed martial artist, and the pro mixed martial artist knows that one or two could really do it in sparring or whatever. So he's just going to go for those 1 and 2s just to work on it. And that's weird to say, considering that Cerrone is a legend, and it borders on disrespect. And I don't want to be disrespectful.
That was disrespect.
You see, that's why I knew when I said it was disrespectful, because I love Donald Cerrone.
Mike's like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but Donald Cerrone is an absolute hack. Mike, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That's what I heard.
You know what, Mike?
I did not call him amateur.
Mike's comments do not reflect the opinions of the leg kick as a whole. Mike, you're disgusting. Mike, you're a pig of a man, sir. That was awful.
I did not call him an amateur.
The man has a family. He's given his life and his blood to this sport to entertain you, and this is what you do. You spit on his legacy. You call him an amateur. How dare you?
I did not call him an amateur, but I did use a simile that I would like to walk back. But the whole point I'm trying to make is that you knew Alex Morono was wild, because he knew he could just, like, this was barbecue chicken time. And no disrespect to Donald Cerrone, when Alex Morono thinks it's barbecue chicken time, it's time, you know? Like,
yeah.
Donald, thank you for a great career. Unfortunately, I think we're probably going to see him in Bellator.
No, I disagree. He says he's coming back. He says there's no way he can go out like this, and that he just needs to get one more and prove to himself that, kind of like the Chris Weidman thing, prove to himself that, he still got it, and do a good performance, and then he'll be able to retire. But he'll know before the fight, and he says that this is not his last fight.
Well, man, that fight never dies in you.
Who are you going to give him to, though? Who are you going to give him to on this UFC roster? Like
Mickey Gall?
Mickey Gall?
Bring back CM Punk.
It's got to be another vet, man.
Moving on, Jeff Neal versus Neil Magny. Some Neil on Neil violence. This fight, to me, what it kind of signified was defense. Jeff Neal's defense looked good, but you can't win fights on defense. And in classic Neil Magny fashion, just through sheer speed, and it's not that Jeff Neal looked like he was at a speed disadvantage, but Neil Magny was able to keep his speed going for longer, and it was like the shades of the Robbie Lawler fight all over again, just without being able to mobilize his wrestling as effectively, but, still using the clinch to stop exchanges whenever Jeff Neal thought he should go on the offense. Great performance from Neil Magny. Volume all the way, and he just forces people into a position where they're just constantly covering up and unable to find counters.
Yeah, Neil's a really long guy, and that's kind of
6'3".
I think what we're learning. Yeah, I think what we're learning is what's his reach, like 75 or some like insane number like that, like long guy. So he's a long guy, tall, and I think that's what gets guys. That's what frustrates and irritates a lot of guys against him because they can't really get to him. And this is MMA. Anyone can knock out anyone. I don't care, if. How much power you think somebody has, anyone can knock out anyone. So you can't play games and overextend yourself, especially against a 6'3" guy who's got a downward angle on you. And so I think Jeff Neal was kind of kept at bay really effectively because of just the sheer attributes that Neil Magny has. I would think though what would have benefited Jeff Neal is some feints to to free
some
feints.
Body shots. Man, I feel, I actually think Jeff Neal did okay. Especially in that first round, he clearly has power. He clearly knows how to box. But I just felt like there wasn't a lot of, I wouldn't say craft, but you get what I'm trying, guile to his game.
Yeah, it seemed like, I'm with you. It seemed like he was trying to find his counters, and the counters weren't there. And eventually when he realized that he wasn't able to find them or get on offense, he would just, I've got to get to work somehow. And then when he would get to work,
there was the clinch.
He would just get smothered up against.
Yeah. And Jeff Neal did a good job. Not Jeff Neal. Neil Magny did a good job with that. First of all, his jab, beautiful. It's so refreshing, especially I think that was right after the the Maurice Green fight. Right after the Maurice Green fight. So it's so refreshing to see a tall, lanky fighter who's fighting off the jab, and his teeps were good too. And every time somebody got close to him, he would just grab them, clinch, and beat you up in for a couple seconds, and then break. I thought it was a really professional performance. He fights long, which is good, and shouts out to Neil Magny, man. Definitely should not be cut. I feel like I was hearing a lot of people say he's a gatekeeper. Is he really on top of the division? But he proved he is, and maybe that Michael Chiesa fight was just a one-off, but yeah.
Well, he met a superior grappler in Chiesa. I think that's it. So it's difficult to weaponize that kind of pace against someone who can just level change and push you against the fence, right? Because a big part of his game is reliant on that clinch, and Chiesa just proved to be superior in that range. But next we have my personal choice for fight of the night, Carlos Diego. Oh my God, Ferreira versus Gregor Gillespie. Now, in the early going, I'm like, this is a big win for jiu-jitsu because Gillespie normally he likes to shoot a double leg underneath his opponent's strikes, or he'll throw and shoot a good double leg. But because of the Southpaw Orthodox matchup, Carlos Diego Ferreira making him uncomfortable on the feet, throwing that jab cross, catching him on the end of his reach, and Gillespie would shoot in these single legs, and Ferreira's single leg defense looked magnificent, rolling to omoplatas.
Oh, I love that I love that single leg where he just he has him. Falls him out. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll talk about it later.
Go for it. I was just gonna say, great use of leg locks in order to get on top. Got on top of the NCAA wrestler and comfortably won that first round. But coming in 6 pounds overweight, Gillespie was just able to mobilize pace and force Ferreira to outwork gas himself out.
Yeah. I was gonna say, start going, Michael.
No, I was gonna say, see, you know what? I want to give credit to John Anik on this one because there are times John Anik's commentator style, he likes to throw a couple anecdotes, and sometimes he gets burned, like the time he mentioned custody battles.
Anecdotes? Yeah, the custody
Yeah,
battles thing was embarrassing.
he got burnt on that one, and social media ripped him a new one for it. But a couple times it works out, like the mentioning of the fact that Ferreira does travel approximately 9 hours to and from his training camp, and I think that does affect him in terms of kind of A, the weight cut, and B, how much strength and conditioning can you really get in when you are making those long trips. And you saw it here because he kind of gassed out due to being in the weight cut. But that's the takeaway, the real takeaway I want to make is, man, when Ferreira is in condition and in shape, he must be a monster because that single leg roll into the omoplata and then getting the hip lock in there, I thought Gregor was in trouble. I really thought Gregor was in trouble.
I thought Gregor was close to being submitted in the end of that first round.
Yeah. Oh, and the rear naked choke. And then I think if there was 20 seconds left, Gregor might have got finished too in that first round because those elbows came in hot.
So what's interesting for me is that I think, while I do hear your reasoning about the 9 hour, and that definitely plays a factor. There's no way that doesn't play a factor. And obviously him being overweight plays a factor in him gassing out a little bit towards the end.
6 pounds overweight.
Which was it 6 pounds? Or wasn't
it was like, 6. He came in at 160.5 or something like that.
Yeah. Not 5 pounds? Anyway, whatever. I think Diego's he fought
5 pounds. You're right.
Yeah, he fought really well in the first round. Gregor Gillespie for me was spamming takedowns as soon as he realized he couldn't hang on the feet. No disrespect, Gregor, but it seemed pretty clear Diego Ferreira had the power advantage and the technique advantage on the feet. So Gregor Gillespie, as any good MMA fighter and, NCAA All-American wrestler would do, shoots for the takedown. And as you said, Diego Ferreira does a really good job in stuffing pretty much everything in that first round. But, and after the first round, you could literally see how tired Gregor Gillespie was. Like he pretty much stumbled on his way to the corner. Like he looked gassed. I've been there so many times. Not that I'm a pro fighter, but I've been so tired that I feel like I'm gonna faint. So I understand that, but listen to the interview afterwards. He said that he felt like since he was tired, all he's got to do is make the other guy more tired, which I think is an interesting concept.
It's attrition. It's attrition, right?
Yeah.
Mobilizing your gas tank as a weapon, knowing that yours is larger than your opponent's, right?
Exactly, and I think that's what he did in the second round because the game plan didn't change. He just came in spamming. I mean, there was a little bit of stand-up, but he came in spamming takedowns to the point where, Diego Ferreira's defense couldn't stand up. It just couldn't last that pace. And I think if it had gone into a third round, and who knows, maybe Ferreira was in better shape, then it might have been a different results, but and also let's not forget, Ferreira got the referee stepped in with 10 seconds to go in that second round, so it was
if Ferreira scrambled a little bit and
that's the same, but he just looked spent, man. He looked like
he looked exhausted. He looked like he had nothing left in the gas tank, which isn't something we're normally accustomed to seeing Ferreira see. And I think
gas tank.
Yeah, I think something must have happened, illness or injury wise, for him to not make the weight. But yeah, Gillespie's stand up did not impress me. I think that he, when he's shadow boxing, he looks like he has very nice, crisp technique. And
this
then
this is my thing, right?
You can look good on the pads, but not good in a fight. It's clear that his striking exists as a function to set up his takedowns. He'll throw one or two very hard strikes, but there's not a lot of thought and craft to his striking.
If I have to sit, sorry, David, were you saying something?
No, this is he looks really not nervous, but super tight with everything, and yeah, just against a more seasoned striker that didn't bode well for him. But sorry, what are you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say that's the thing. When I look at Gregor Gillespie, it's like I'm not seeing any kind of deficiency from a technical standpoint. It just seems like he just doesn't have an understanding of the game. You know what I'm saying? And
he lacks craft. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you know what I would say to him too, to be honest. Although, like, who am I to give anybody any advice on anything, right? But
you have
very
fought
self-deprecating
a couple times. Like,
you know, but I
who am
would
I?
say,
Oh, but a worthless worm crushed beneath the heels of your boot, milady. Go on.
I am but a knave. But you know what I would say? Don't 100% everything, right? And I think too many people get into that game of like, I have to hit him with everything I have in this jab. I have to hit him with everything I have in this cross or this hook. And as a result, they get really tight. And it seemed like he was like this bound of energy when he was on the feet because he wanted to hit everything in the jab and cross. And it's like a nice little, like Colby Covington's the master of this, actually. Just believe it or not. He just ping, pitter patter, just to flow into stuff. And you'd be surprised what you can get with people when you flow, right?
Yeah, no, I was going to say Neil Magny also, just to jump back, another perfect example of not hitting too hard, being super loose. Yeah, I just didn't think his stand-up was there last night. And maybe perhaps that explains the Kevin Lee loss a little bit more, in the sense that against like the best strikers in the division, maybe he's going to struggle. But then again, if you look at the top of the division, I mean, how many strikers do we really have apart from like Poirier?
David, let's not. I don't think the problem's strikers. I think it's strikers that he can't dominate on the mat, right?
Yeah.
And I think as far as that goes, the people to present him problems, I think an in-shape Diego Ferreira, as we saw in the first round, Ferreira gave him fits. And let's see. I'm just going to pull up the
Chandler could be a problem.
Chandler with his wrestling could be a problem, potentially. I think Oliveira could be a problem. If Ferguson in his prime would be a problem, but I'm not sure this version of Ferguson could be a problem. But stylistically, yeah.
Dariush is a problem.
Dariush could be a big problem, yes.
Right?
Dariush, a man who's
would
better.
be a big problem, actually.
But other than that, like as far as your Poiriers, your Gaethjes, like let's see if they can keep him off
He's
it.
Like Makhachev?
Makhachev, like. Yeah, I think Makhachev would be a fun matchup, if anything. Yeah. But
I don't think they're going to do that one too early. It's too early for them.
What do you mean too early? No, let's make it happen. I want to see that now. Let's see
McGregor versus.
I would like to see McGregor, actually. I think that would be an interesting match. I think Gillespie might lose that one, honestly, just with that kind of striking. But yeah, no, I mean, there are some interesting matchups, and to be fair, he did win. And, he says he's 34, so he's towards the end of his career. Not towards the end, but he's in the prime time. Like, it's now kind of thing. It's now or never kind of thing. So, yeah, hopefully he makes a run and he gets to fight some of these top guys because he's definitely got some skills. Like, his wrestling was super impressive, and he looked, like, tenacious as hell. It just seemed
and
like...
And the pace he put on, too, like...
Crazy.
See, that's the thing that should be said. It's like no one should take a look at this fight and think, oh, well, Diego Ferreira has bad cardio, because this was a hella, and I mean,
it was basically like
I've never seen someone shoot 3 double legs in a row like that. Just double leg didn't work. Double leg didn't work. It's literally like someone was pressing the same button on the controller.
Literally, he had no interest in striking. Like, no interest in striking. He just wanted to take the guy down and grapple. Which in the first round...
And the transitions, too. The transitions. Beautiful.
It was crazy. Yeah, the scrambles were crazy.
Dude, like, the rolling omoplata, like, I'm like, how?
Is that a Stella?
Huh?
Is that a Stella?
It is a Stella.
Yeah,
I've been noticing that the entire time.
I like it. That rolling omoplata was a thing of beauty, I must say. So, final thoughts. Who's next for Gillespie? And who's next for
Makhachev? Why not? Well, I mean,
Makhachev?
I know why. I know why Makhachev
is 19-1. He's gonna fight for the title, like soon. I would say like in the next year or so, like Makhachev should be fighting for the title.
But here's the problem with
in this
Makhachev.
log jam division, like look at this logjam division. We got Poirier, who's not even in the title picture, who's fighting McGregor. We got Gaethje, outside of the title picture, right?
Mm-hmm. Oliveira and Chandler.
Beneil Dariush. Yeah, I guess Makhachev could make his way in there at some point. But maybe not next year, man. This is the division of the logjam, my friend.
Well, it's only logjam because everyone's kind of got to fight.
What about a Dan Hooker?
Yeah, Dan Hooker. I think it's a nightmare matchup for Dan Hooker, but nightmare. Like Hooker showed, unless he's learned to circle the cage a little better than he did in that Chandler fight. He's a good reachy guy with some weapons that could give some problems to Gillespie, but it's going to be difficult to keep that man off you. That'll be an interesting.
You're gonna have to have some wrestling defense, basically, because there's no way Gregor Gillespie is gonna go in there and not try and shoot on like a kickboxer like Dan Hooker. So Dan Hooker's wrestling defense would have to be like on point that night. And if it is, honestly, I would give it to him because I think like on the feet, it's like not even a comparison.
Yeah, but it's not a contest.
But
so moving on, we have some boxing to deal with.
Yeah. Boxing, more boxing with Jer. Oh, well, Jeremy's taking care of something.
Time we cut to him.
I'm here.
Right?
Boxing
and more boxing.
Wait, so you guys are talking about Phil Hayes and Phil Haas? All right.
It was an interesting fight, but we got a lot of content to get through.
All right, I picked Phil Haas, by the way. But boxing news. This weekend, May 8th, King Canelo, the pound for pound number one fighter, consensus number one fighter on the planet, had his second fight of the year, third fight of his DAZN deal of 4 fights, and very entertaining night. Canelo stopped Billy Joe Saunders. 8th round, made him quit on his stool. But, Billy Joe Saunders was doing well. I don't even know where I want to start with this.
In fact, I got some talking points.
Yeah, go ahead, David, because there's so many.
For me, well, first of all, let's start with this one. It's a good fight, but there's also 72,000 people in attendance in Texas.
Okay. Yeah.
Is COVID over?
In Texas, it is. Apparently, Texas has a bubble.
Okay, just check it because 72K sounds a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People. That thing was
indoor stadium.
Crazy.
Indoor stadium.
And they look like sardine together. And then to look in the corner, like to look outside of the ring and see like the fight officials and the ring crew or whatever. Oh no, not like the corners, but like the officials were wearing masks, like the full visor. And it's kind of like, wait, buddy, there's 72,000 people in here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to make a difference.
But,
what a disaster.
That crowd, though, eh? Like, aside from, like, the ring judges and everybody, outside of it, not a single Errol Spence, no mask. Hugo Andre, no mask. There were some Instagram.
I don't even know what to say about that, dog. Like, yo.
Hopefully everybody got their vaccine, man. Hopefully everyone got their vaccine.
I will say, when there was a couple of my teammates who were training in Texas for their fights, Condi, Clark, everything, and they were really on the up and up when it came to vaccine rollouts, right? So, I mean, it I will admit is hubris. There is some hubris there, and there is maybe some overconfidence, but it could just be that they're just so confident in the fact that they're rolling out the vaccine that they're not.
I'll tell you what, man. Dana White looks like a genius right now because he told you guys, like, we're the first, and we're proving to other people, like, this can be done. And last night, they did that thing. I mean, the crowd was bumping. It definitely added to the watching experience, even from home. And you could tell, like, the fighters were G'd up by it. Like, they were waving to the crowd, like, gesturing and stuff like that, playing to the crowd. So,
Oh, let me just tell the viewers, too. Billy Joe Saunders leading up to this fight, there was a lot of antics.
Yes.
A lot of antics surrounding the fight.
Come out for the interviews, right?
What happened?
The ring was too small.
Yeah, I mean, the first antic was that the first one was about the judges. He said that he wanted one British judge, one American judge, and one Mexican judge to make it fair. That was a no. That was a no-go. They just got all three American judges because he didn't want some kind of
LA Bird fiasco.
Exactly. And then the ring issue. Yeah, the ring issue was the second issue where he threatened not to fight because he wanted I think originally he wanted like some crazy, like a 24-foot ring. I was like, when in your life have you ever heard of a 24-foot ring? Like,
but like I think before they were, said. But I think before they were going to give him a 20-foot ring, and I was like, that's unacceptable, though. He had a point. Because that ring was way too small for him to operate, especially the way he fights.
Yeah. Wait, what, 20 feet?
Yeah, they wanted a 20-foot ring or something. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think it was smaller than that, but I feel like 20 feet is usually what the rings are, but they made it bigger. They gave him a 22-foot ring. So they worked some up.
Yeah, it was like 18. It was like 18.
Yeah, I think he wanted I think Canelo wanted like an 18-foot ring actually.
Which is crazy. No.
Yeah, that's kind of small.
Let's be honest though. Canelo could have lost by knockout, and the judges still would have given him the decision.
Facts.
Honestly, okay, I want to talk because I generally felt like Canelo lost at least round 1 and round 5. But if you listen to the commentators, you would have thought he had a clean sweep the entire time, which is crazy to me. There is no way you can come to a first round, throw 4-6 punches, body shots, all of them, not a single one to the head, while the other dude is basically outboxing you, and you win the round. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I get it. Canelo hits hard, but, man, I thought Billy Joe Saunders won that first round and round 5, which is more than a lot of people could say against Canelo. I also felt like, his movement was really good, crazy good. He's such a sneaky fighter, man.
Yeah.
He looks
it's that southpaw. It's that southpaw.
It's the southpaw. No, for real. It's the southpaw because but it's not just the southpaw because that definitely gave Canelo problems. You could tell he was a little bit more hesitant to engage in a firefight. But I think he
was outboxing him in the pocket,
man. Billy Joe Saunders' jab is so quick, and he throws it from weird angles. He'll be bending over and flick it out, and then bend back, flick it out. Can
I add to that too? Sure. Is that there's something to be said for, okay, when you're fighting in Muay Thai, you want to keep your hands up because you can fire right away from here because there's so much pressure, and because leg kicks are an issue and clinch is an issue. Going low and having your hands low is not the greatest thing to do in a Muay Thai contest. But in a boxing contest where, you can play that game because realistically you have to worry about hands. And if you duck low enough, maybe the uppercut is there, which was there, and we will get to it.
That's
what got him eventually. But it's not as much of a death sentence to have your hands low and to duck low. So, and I think one of the things that helped him when his hands were low is offensively, his hands were coming from an angle that Canelo is not usually prepared for.
But hey, you know what though? Canelo said this fight would be difficult, and once Canelo started ripping shots to the body instead of in the earlier rounds when they would end off the exchanges and he would go for the head, Canelo figured out his timing. He's like, okay, you know what? Whenever he flicks out that jab and starts ducking and tries to mix it up with me, I'm gonna feed him shots to the body, giving him thunderous shots to the body. I was watching it like, ooh, ouch, bro.
Yeah, those body shots were real good. But I was gonna say also just quickly on Billy Joe Saunders, his head movement was interesting because, as you said, Mike, it's not just that he's throwing it from an orthodox position, but sometimes it literally doesn't even look like he's about to throw. If that makes sense. It looks like he's off balance or just ducking, and he just puts it up.
Fade away, jab, fade away, overhand left, overhand right.
It's so I would like to watch that fight again because I thought it was his style was really, really intriguing. His head movement was really good. He made Canelo miss a lot, like a lot. Like you could tell Canelo was getting frustrated. He whiffed, like Canelo whiffed a couple of times with like some
When have you ever
headshots.
seen that, eh?
I don't think we've ever seen that. So like you could tell he was doing
Well,
something.
aside from Floyd, but
Yeah,
that was super young, super young.
But he was also like ducking, like he would throw like absolute like the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do in Muay Thai, basically duck to like the floor basically, and Canelo would miss. But I think eventually Canelo kind of caught on. First he stopped throwing like the right uppercut just because it wasn't landing, and he started switching to like a left a body hook with his left, which I think was a little bit more effective. And eventually, he's like switched that to his left uppercut, which I believe is what caught
I
Billy
think that's
Joe's.
no, I think it was a right uppercut. But I will
Right?
say that like Canelo loved that uppercut all night.
Yeah, he loved it, but he wasn't landing it for the most part. But
I think the whole point was in practice. I guess in theory, Eddie Reynoso and gang thought the right uppercut was what's going to get Billy Joe for the ducking. Right? I think that's what they had a plan for. Let's get Billy Joe, because Billy Joe likes to duck. If you ever seen a Billy Joe fight, that's what Billy Joe does. He goes in southpaw, he lands the jab, he'll duck, he'll like circle over to your open side, and then land something over the top. So they were really trying to intercept them on that way on the duck with that uppercut. But the problem is Canelo is not he's one of the shorter guys in this division. So he just couldn't get there. And eventually he turned into a kind of a shovel hook, right? And if it goes upstairs to the uppercut, it will, right? And so it just...
Let's be honest. The only guy who's going to be able to beat Canelo is Conor McGregor, Logan Paul, or maybe Jake Paul.
Hilarious. This guy, man. But I also wanted to say, man, Canelo, like, what a fighter, man. Like, I can't believe a guy that small hits that hard, if that makes any sense. Because, like, the power differential, once again, like, was scary. Billy Joe Saunders doesn't seem like a guy who doesn't hit hard. Like, you can tell, like, he's, like, twisting his body into his shot. So you can tell, like, there's a little bit of something in those.
It didn't look hard when they were landing on Canelo.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Canelo was eating those shots.
Man, Canelo just, like, he hits so hard and so quick, so explosive. And I think even though he looks, kind of, I wouldn't say flat, but it's not the best Canelo fight I've ever watched, especially those earlier rounds, in my opinion. But man, and the stoppage was weird, don't you think? Because I at first didn't know what was happening. I thought it was a pretty close fight.
Broken orbital bone. Broken orbital bone. That's what.
Which is fair. That's the Bob Sapp. I get it, but.
No, his corner called it.
Love that Bob Sapp, bro.
Billy wanted to come out. So what happened is the report is Billy wanted to come out, but he took a look at his eye, and he not only did he have a broken orbital bone, but apparently he might have had a not torn, but like a bruised cornea. So, and when you have a bruised cornea, your reflex is to close your eye because you can't when light hits that cornea, forget about it. So the coroner just said, nah. They told the doctor, nah, and they left. And of course, people booed him on the way out for quitting. And it's like
crazy, man. What's wrong with boxing fans?
It's because of the antics. That's why. It's because of the antics that Billy Joe painted himself as the villain in this. But I disagree with the booing during the UK national anthem. I didn't like that. And
that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah, and I also didn't like the booing of. I get the booing of his entrance because he was the bad guy, of course. But yeah, like to boo somebody for saying like, no, I don't want to risk my life. I think
he didn't even say that.
He didn't even say it. His corner called it.
Right, exactly. But I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why there was so much animosity towards Billy Joe. Because I think don't put that on all boxing fans in all situations. I think in certain situations, I don't think boxing fans would have done that.
What I would say though is,
what's up?
What I would say though is that I think like the crowd, the commentators, hell, even the promoters were heavily biased for Canelo last night.
That's going to be every fight.
That's why
That's going to be every fight from here on out. That's going to be every fight from here on out. Canelo's
I think that's also why Billy Joe was super like uppity about like everything about the judging.
Man,
because he knew he was going to basically go into a bandbox, right? And he wanted to give himself every advantage that he could.
Yeah.
And I think also to Jeremy's point, the reason why I think boxing fans were so upset with Billy Joe is that on any given scorecard, you had Billy Joe up, tied, maybe down a round. You know what I'm saying? It was competitive, right? So when he did break his orbital bone and his corner called it, they're like, there was a sense of like there was a lack of closure. And it's usually the lack of closure that pisses people off, right? Than it is, the actual stoppage. Now, take that with what you will. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm just saying I understand.
I got a point, and we're talking about Canelo, and Stefano hasn't said anything in 20 minutes. Refreshing. But I just want to quickly talk about the fight that happened. I think it was before that, the Elvin Soto versus Takayama fight.
Yeah.
So but I don't know if you guys watched it, but essentially Soto is piecing up Takayama. Like I've never seen so many unanswered headshots like in a boxing match. The referee steps, but Takayama, to his credit, is taking them. He's not falling, and he's returning. He's boxing, still like light on his feet. But the referee steps in after I don't even know how many unanswered shots, but he steps in. And the commentators go, "Wow, referee, you gotta let him go out. You gotta let a warrior go out on his shield." So I just think maybe that's reflective of a certain attitude that exists in.
They cleaned that up though. If you kept watching the broadcast, they cleaned that up.
Yeah, you think so?
They did. What did they say? Well, they just said, I think that going out on your shield is a dangerous philosophy in boxing. But if a fighter is returning punches, he doesn't seem to be not defending himself anymore. I don't know if I said that properly, but you know what I mean. If he's still defending himself, then you gotta give him a chance to fight.
I hear that, but I think
like they originally. I know what you're referring to. They did say that because that's probably your immediate visceral reaction to an early stoppage, but they cleaned that up afterwards.
Yeah, and I will say, as much of I am a fan of Josh Grisham, and I followed his career ever since I was a young broadcasting nerd, because he's a type of guy I talk about when I talk about the starving broadcaster, a guy who's had to struggle to get to where he is. He struggled. He finally makes it to the big time in WWE. They treat him like shit. He leaves, and then he has to go back to the bottom of the mountain again and work his way back up. But boy, did he have a tough night with these fights. Yeah. And I say that with all respect because I love Josh Grisham and I think he does a really good job for Glory as well. And he is a guy who, again, bottom of the mountain guy and had to climb up not once but twice. But I think this fight was one of those times where he didn't have his best, and you really saw it in those calls. So I think, in fairness, I do think though a lot of it just comes down to attitude, culture, and maybe commentary too, kind of swaying a person's opinion. Sure. I will say though, sorry, go ahead, David. Go ahead.
Just two things. Sorry, what?
I said, David, did you have something else to say? I just
there's two after Michael's point, but there's two other things I wanted to say.
All right, Michael, and then David, and then I'll just wrap it up.
Yeah, please.
No, I will say, I think more stoppages should be like that. Where if a guy
agreed.
If there's not I do understand that home run in the 9th inning walk off, that idea of comeback.
We've seen 20 shots to the head. Man, that's not.
Yeah. I think there should be more stoppages where it's look, if it's clearly not competitive, we all know where it's going to go. We don't want this to turn into a situation that gets dangerous. Let's end it.
What would the commentators want? So, okay, let's say he lasts all 12 rounds and then goes back home and starts bleeding in the brain. Then what? You know what I mean? Who cares about whatever rounds or whatever? Let the guy was losing. He lost pretty decisively. The referee is well within his rights to say, I don't want to see any more of this.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. Just really quick. Did you see the Sebastian well, you might not have, but did you see Sebastian Formella versus Cotto? Okay. Yeah. Well, go watch that, and then and then we'll talk about if you thought that was too early or if you thought that he could have got it. Did you have something else to say?
Oh, yeah. So there's two things I wanted to say. First of all, Canelo's fighting Caleb Plant next, unifying the super middleweight division.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know who that is, but I'll be watching. And then the second of all was, what's up with the dude who comes to what's his name, Andrade, comes to his conference later.
Andre.
Well, Jeremy, you answer this because I'm a fan of him as well. Southpaw. He has a really nice.
He's never getting that fight, man.
Here's the problem. He's one of the best boxers in that division. It's almost like the T Farmer Gervonta Davis situation, where when T Farmer was going on this unbelievable run.
I love some Farmer, man. I love Farmer.
He was right. He lost recently, but like when T Farmer was going on this unbelievable run, killing everybody, he turned into this boogeyman. And when people would ask Gervonta Davis or any one of these guys who were up in that division, do you want to fight T Farmer? Everyone just kind of went, you know what I'm saying? We saw the interviews. And that's kind of a similar situation that's happening with Boo Boo Andrade, where, people are asking, do you want to play Andrade? And everyone's kind of going, and I can understand if you're Boo Boo Andrade, you're upset. So you're trying everything. And I think this is one of those things that didn't work out, but I understand,
Yeah, I mean, Canelo's answer to why he hasn't fought Boo Boo Andrade, he said he hasn't fought anybody. Yeah, no duh, because nobody wants to fight him. But he holds the WBO at 160. So if you'd like to unify all the belts, you have to fight Demetrius Andrade. But yeah, Canelo's got Caleb Plant next. Also wanted to say I really enjoyed some of the showmanship from Canelo, kind of cheering on the crowd when he saw Billy Joe hurt. I really like that. But yeah, he's got Caleb Plant next. This is going to be a good one. This one's going to be very competitive. If you don't know who Caleb Plant is, I believe he has the IBF at 168. He's gonna give Canelo a good fight. I don't know. My opinion on his fight style kind of changes with every fight, but Caleb Plant is a very complete fighter. That's the best compliment I can give to him. He's complete. He's very complete, very tall, good reach, all that.
Yeah. All right. If you have anything else to add, no?
One more thing. Sorry, I lied. Canelo's intro was far too long. That's it.
Make your opponent wait in the ring for you. Mind games, baby.
No, I get it, but man, this guy had an entire. I don't want to say mariachi because that sounds racist. I'm not sure they were a mariachi band, but there was a 12, 16 piece band playing 3 different singers. Canelo jogging in place for 1 minute of the song. Come on, how many songs did they do? They must have done
honestly. If I had to have a walk-in like that, I would just be not ready to fight anymore. It would throw me off so much. Even the Tyson Fury walkout against Deontay Wilder, I thought was a little bit much. Yeah, it's long.
I will say though, the UFC needs to sway a little more to that side. I really like the special intros they have. I like the special intros they have. When Sinead O'Connor came out and sang the full Foggy Dew for Conor McGregor during that fight with Chad Mendes. A1, I love that. And
hey, remember when I asked you guys what acoustic walkout song you guys would pick on the first episode of the podcast, and because you're both black, you didn't know any acoustic music. So one of you was something acoustic by Metallica, and the other one.
Yeah, no, I said Enter the Sandman. I'd like to see.
That's not a real answer, Mike. You can't.
I like Metallica. I like Enter the Sandman.
I said acoustic music, and you said Enter the Sandman, but acoustic. All right, I rest my case. I thought that was kind of funny. It was cute.
Sickness.
Down with
Come on, everybody. You guys
kill me.
Down with the sickness.
Come on, get up. Now get down with the only correct answer. Well, my correct answer is Jose Gonzalez. Far Away.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that. Heartbeat from Jose Gonzalez.
Yeah, it's the one from Red Dead Redemption. Jeremy, you got an answer to that? Your acoustic walkout song.
Acoustic song to walk out to.
You have to pick an acoustic. They get the live performer there to perform an acoustic song for you, like Conor McGregor with Sinead O'Connor and thing with Chad Mendes with Aaron, whatever his name is from Stained.
Oh, Good Country Boy.
Yeah, that was a good one too. What do you?
I'm gonna go Ed Sheeran, Where Things Stranger.
Oh no! You come out to Ed Sheeran, you're getting knocked out. And I'm gonna say, like, you gotta make sure, like, your acoustic song is hard, right? Like, your walkout song has to be hard.
No, but
the fighters.
But like,
What's wrong with Ed
such
Sheeran?
good songs though.
All right, fine. Okay.
Jeremy's coming out here to the ring to like, you're beautiful,
Ed Sheeran.
you're beautiful, it's true.
I'm in love with the shape of you, right?
Ed Sheeran, I See Fire.
Oh, that's actually a pretty good one.
I don't know.
Oh, Misty Mountain, the heart below. Yeah, that's not bad.
That's fire.
So let's do a quick dive into Bellator and PFL. Very quick. Just covering the main stuff. So Fabrício Werdum actually lost in a very controversial fight. I don't know if you guys saw it. Who saw that his fight?
Yeah, I did.
So quick summary. Verdum's fighting this 6'8" heavyweight out of Brazil. And looks like he's doing well. Jumps on a high crotch, hits that Daniel Cormier style takedown that I love, where you're in the high crotch position and you stick your leg out and trip them on their standing leg. You know what I'm talking about? Can you guys picture that?
Yeah. Where you like basically get on the high crotch and then you like put your head to the outside.
Yeah. So you're exactly. You're on the high crotch. Your head's on the outside and you finish it normally like how people finish the single leg when they spin you around and pull you to the floor. But instead, your inside leg, so the leg that's in between both of your opponent's legs, sticks out and trips their leg that's still bouncing around. Mm-hmm. So he hits that takedown. There's some ground exchanges. Werdum looks to be comfortably controlling from the top. Ends up getting reversed, and Werdum throws this guy in a triangle. Now this guy taps, and it looks like Werdum kind of lets go a little, and the referee doesn't see. And then this guy knocks Werdum out on the ground after tapping.
Yeah, that was. I can see how the ref could miss that, to be honest, though, because it's like it was from an angle where the ref was just not present, you know?
But on that other guy, how are you going to do the Brazilian tap, man? Come on.
Yeah. See, and that's the problem, right? They call it the Brazilian tap because it's a stigma that's what the Brazilians do.
Yeah, they do a little fake tap and then, a little like, and then keep fighting right afterwards. Like, well, what are you talking about? I think Kevin Lee tried to do it against Oliveira.
Doesn't she argue that, whatever advantage you can get in a fight, like, you should use? So if you can convince, I mean, for me, it makes sense. If somebody's around my neck and trying to choke me or something, or trying to submit me, and I feel like I can't get out, I'm a tap. And if
you know what? But I make sure to call that out. I make sure to call that out. Actually, like, people think of me as a prick, but whenever I'm in a jiu-jitsu competition and I win and if someone taps, I say audibly to the ref, he's tapping, because I know they will pull that garbage and it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And it's not okay.
That's the thing. Like, less so in a tournament, well, even still in a tournament, let's be honest, or in an MMA fight. And I've made this mistake before once in a tournament where I put someone in an ankle lock, I had them dead to rights, and I put the requisite amount of pressure that gets the tap in training, and they didn't tap, and I'm like, what the? And then they ended up escaping, right? So I got it through my head now. When I'm going into a tournament, if I get a hold of your limb or your neck, I'm sending you to the hospital. If you tap, good for you, right? But until the ref grabs me, I'm trying to take a limb home or send you to the hospital. That's it. I'm trying to put you to sleep. That's what it is, because I'm not having you, and it's happened to friends of mine as well, where someone pulls the squirrely bullshit and fake taps and then, gets an advantage from it. So, if you tap, that's good for you. You avoided getting your limb taken. But my goal is not to make you tap. Let it be clear.
Did that time when you got cheated, did it really stay with you? I can tell that it kind of.
Oh, I didn't get. Jeremy, so my time, I didn't get cheated.
Did you lose the fight or whatever?
No, I won. I won on points. But I didn't get cheated so much as I didn't have the mindset to, like, he didn't tap. I basically applied a certain amount of pressure and I expected to get the tap, and I kind of stopped for a second and then he escaped. What I should have done was keep going until his ankle snapped off, right? Because if you don't want to tap, that's not my fault. That was the mistake I made. I've never had someone Brazilian tap on me, but I've had friends. My friend Carlos Rios. He was competing against in a purple belt tournament, and he had the guy in a double armbar from a back triangle, or we'll call it a double triangle. And the guy kind of fake tapped, and I know it's a weird submission, and fake tapped and escaped and started fighting Carlos again. And Carlos was like, "What the fuck?" So Carlos gets him into the second time and extends, and the guy's tapping, and Carlos keeps extending, and the guy's like slapping on the mat like Donkey Kong. And the referee runs over and splits them up. It's like, hey, man.
So that's why you shouldn't fake tap. Got it.
Right? No, it's BS. It's garbage because, like, and I always say, and you know what? This is why Bruce Marpalhares does what he does, right? This is exactly why. Because, and I get it, although the reason why it's too much is because you see clearly that the guy is tapping. You know clearly that the ref is coming to stop you, and he is pulling you off of him, and you are still continuing. Neither here or there. But this is why he does what he does, because guys pull this BS. And there's an honor code with it that I can break your arm or worse, kill you if I feel like it in this position. And you are going to pull that garbage? Absolutely not. And that's the problem.
No, but
right?
Mike, I'm tapping so you don't kill me.
Not with what's his name?
Husimar?
Not with Husimar. The guy who faced Werdum, right? Who taps, and then this is exactly why, because it's like Werdum could have killed him in this position, but he chose mercy because that's the rules and that's the honor code, and you're going to take that honor code and shove it down his throat.
Honestly, man, honestly, that's the thing for me. Like, that's a scary thought. Knowing that I could be knocked out after the guy taps to a submission. So for me, even just from a self-preservation standpoint, if I get that submission, like, I'm not going to let you get out of it and hit me in the face. Sorry, I got a triangle choke. You're going to bed. I want to see the whites of your eyes. You know, like, I want to smell the shit as you shit yourself, as your body gets ready to die.
The Steven Seagal thing where, like, Steven Seagal shits.
Oh, yeah, where Judo Gene LaBelle choked out Steven Seagal and he shit himself. Yeah. Classic story.
Classic. But you know what? That's why I always say, I audibly, like, no matter how much of a prick I am about this, like, and people say, like, you shouldn't do it, I audibly say he's tapping. Every jiu-jitsu match I have where I've won, all 6 of them I've been like, he's tapping. He's tapping.
6 right? Jiu-jitsu matches. That's cute, Mike.
Well, jiu-jitsu super fights, whatever you like to
Only
call
6, eh? Wow.
Yeah.
I think I've had 6. I think I've had 6 matches at a tournament.
I have 9. I'm 6-3. So.
Love it.
So.
And anything else off that PFL card? We'll move along.
Kayla Harrison went to.
Oh, Kayla Harrison fought some woman who had no business being in there with her. Yeah. And Kamaru Usman's brother got starched, poor man.
Is Kayla Harrison gonna fight in the UFC? You think?
There's no 155 division in the UFC, and you see the kind of competition. Like she fought against like a 5'3" lightweight or something like that, and just styled on this poor woman. And Kamaru Usman's brother ran into. I was surprised. I had money on him, but he ran into a fairly good striker who just styled on him. Made him look a bit stuck in the mud. Anyways, we've got Bellator. I guess we'll go over this quickly. Anthony Johnson making his return. Ooh, baby.
I gotta say, I was super impressed with Jose Augusto in this fight. He showed some chutzpah out there. Breaking his hand, huh?
Grit, yeah.
Yeah, breaking his hand was, by the way, he was landing that right hand at will before he broke it, and then for him to nearly knock out Rumble or TKO Rumble with one hand. God, the drama in that fight. And then
it felt like Rumble was Rumble was struggling to find his range, and Augusto was landing with frequency, you know?
Yeah. Like there was a combo that Augusto had was only one-handed Augusto, where he lands a jab, pulls into it to use it to extend, and to a nice body hook on the I think it was the liver side, actually, not the pancreas side, and just bang right in there, and he jets out. And then there was one where he kind of uses his left hand again, body shot, gets his head out of the way, low kick. Like for a guy with one hand, he used that one hand pretty effectively. in the fight.
Yeah.
Also to say that Rumble ended up winning with a classic Rumble.
Oh yeah, he like I said, had trouble finding the range, but his kick sounded hard as ever. And yeah, he threw that almost like not a jab, but like a long left hook, and used it to grab Augusto's glove. So he's pinning the hand in place, and then as he pulls that hand down, just steps through and just lands a bomb from hell. And man, I told the story on the pod.
Sorry, is that the same combo Kamaru Usman got Jorge Masvidal with? That was that same kind of.
No, because the difference is I would say it's more akin to. Do you remember Glover versus Rumble?
Yes.
When Rumble grabbed the hand and then uncorked that uppercut. Yeah, he when he can get in range of you and hand fight and almost pin you in place with that, he is a scary man. So he advances on to fight Vadim Naimkov, and we'll see what happens with Yo Romero, who wasn't medically cleared. Poor guy.
Man, I also gotta say, Giancarlo Lino with another scoop. First guy to get the the post fight up, and Rumble was not happy with himself after that fight.
Yeah, there was a moment after the fight where I don't think he even realized how hurt he was. He didn't remember that he got knocked down.
So yeah. Man, Jose Augusto showed some heart, some skills, some talent, and some chutzpah, and I'd like to see more of him. I think this was a good showing from him in a losing effort. If you take some time off to heal from getting knocked out, but I'd like to see more from Jose, a two-handed Jose Augusto.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps us up as far as the week, unless there's anything on Bellator you want to talk about. I didn't see the Michael Venom Page fight, but I know he did well.
Yeah, I saw this want to talk about that, though, because, he faced someone real. Real. Okay,
I saw the finish, which was nice. It was classic, like, point karate technique where you skip up into that, you bring your back foot forward. It's like a skip. You bring your back foot forward into the position where your front foot is, and then your front foot takes a step forward. So it kind of hides the fact that you're at a new distance with your opponent because your front. I was going to stand up and show it.
Like Thug Rose versus Weili Zhang.
Exactly. Yeah. Same technique. I forgot about that.
Right. And the advantage of having the skip and operating with the skip is that if somebody, and again, I say this all the time, there are some things Muay Thai just doesn't have an answer for sometimes. And the skip is one of them, because if you can operate out of the skip, it has the same kind of effect as A, throwing a low kick, or B, throwing a cross, right, from the right side. And you saw it with Thug Rose and Weili, it was like the low kick, but this time it was that effect of throwing the cross because you're getting that shoulder to come in. And Derek Anderson thought it was going to be that right hand. So what does he do? He tries to slip on the inside of it, and bang, right into the face. So
how was Anderson faring before that point?
He was getting pieced up, to be honest with you. Yeah. But you know what though? I will again. Derek Anderson, number 6 on the rankings. He's real. He beat Pitbull's brother twice, who is legit. And also he lost his fight against Corley, but he was competitive and stopped on cuts. So again, he's legit. He's a for real guy. And Michael Venom Page, I would love to see a Jason Jackson, Michael Venom Page fight for a number 1 contendership fight again.
We know how that's gonna go. Jason Jackson is gonna wrestle that dude. And grind to the dirt. Like, come on.
Well, if Michael Venom Page is real and he wants this, then he's got to prove that he can defeat those guys, right? Conor McGregor's trial by fire was Chad Mendes. Now, granted, Chad Mendes had no camp for that one, but you got to put him trial by fire, right? And this is the problem, right? If you don't put Michael Venom Page through these trial by fires, how are you going to know if you have something, right?
You know what? I think there's a more interesting test for him in that division. Okay. Now, hear me out. Bellator, not always the best, good at raising its own talent, but not always the best at scouting out and bringing in new talent. But I think there's a fighter that could give him a very, very legitimate test, and that's Dada 5000.
Oh fuck!
I thought you were going to say Melanin Michael Asiffo.
No, Dada 5000. Bring him in. Actually, Melanin Mike versus Dada, and then we'll do Logan Paul versus Jeremy. Oh no. We'll do what's his name? Harold Howard versus Jeremy. You know Harold Howard?
No.
He's this original UFC guy who did karate, like in the OG UFCs. I think he won one of them. He's like, there's this famous clip of him. He's got these glasses on. He's like, I'm Harold Howard competing in the Ultimate Fighting Challenge. He's like straight out of an 80s karate movie. Like, you know, he's like a villain in an 80s karate movie. He's got these black glasses on. He's like, we got a saying from where I come from. If you're coming on, and he takes off the glasses.
Hilarious.
Oh, then come on. Wait, you fucking killed the punchline, David. He's like, hold on, I'm gonna have to do that again. God, you can't interrupt me in the middle of the punchline. He's like, he's got the glasses, right? You can look it up. And he's like, we got a saying where I'm coming from. If you're coming on, then come on.
And
I think I remember this actually.
Where he's from is Richmond Hill. Now,
No.
Yeah. As somebody who went to high school in Richmond Hill, I've never heard anybody say that. If you're coming,
Harold Howard's from Richmond Hill. I thought he was from like Buffalo or Niagara Falls. He's from Niagara Falls, born in Niagara Falls.
Oh, born in Niagara Falls, but he grew up in Richmond Hill.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like the first line of his wiki.
Man, that's really the next town over from where I'm from. So,
David, that we've got a saying in Richmond Hill. It says, if you're coming on, then come on. I gotta show you guys.
I guess that's a Richmond Hill thing. Those Richmond Hill kids are weirdos.
Oh my god.
Shout out Richmond Hill though.
And I say that knowing that my girl's from Richmond Hill, so
love you, honey. Later.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, in terms of ask questions, did we get an ask questions?
No ask questions. This guy that dropped the ball. My bad. Next week. I got you guys.
Story time.
Story time. We don't have a story, but we might on Sunday.
Today is Sunday.
No, Thursday. We get a good supple card. Temporary amnesia, guys. We got a good supple card coming up that we need to preview. UFC 262, is it? Or 263? 262.
Chandler versus Oliveira.
Ferguson Dariush, Hermanson Shabazian, Chukagan Arroyo, Burgos Barbosa. Can you ask for a more supple and juicy card? And then, I mean, Ronaldo Souza on the undercard, Lendo Venata versus Mike Grundy. Woo! This is.
Wait, hold on a second. Did you just say Ronaldo Souza? You must address him properly. How dare you? Jacare. How dare Ronaldo Souza? Get out of here.
Hey, I'm gonna send that if you're come on clip to the.
Is that Edson Barbosa versus Shane Burgos? That's gonna be a nice fight.
That's a banger. That is a supple banger.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much it then.
Just a quick reminder, guys, to subscribe to the Leg Kick Podcast. Tell your friends about it. We really appreciate doing this for you, but we won't do it for free forever. We're here for a good time, not here for a long time. So tell your friends about it. We're going to educate you. We're going to drill you in the face with knowledge and splatter all over you with the mixed martial arts goodness that we've come to acquire over the years.
Honestly, it didn't register until David's reaction.
David's like, hold on, that's not feminist at all.
Yeah, like that's incredibly graphic.
Until David's reaction, then I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
man, so we had a fan who actually has a pretty good threat for the children today, actually. So I gotta
read it out.
All right, give me a second. I'm pulling it up.
Coming on, then come on. We got a saying in Richmond Hill.
Makes it a lot funnier.
Oh my God. I'm watching the clip now. There's like it begins with a clip of him in a dojo punching a bag of sand that just sand just sprays all over the floor. It's so 80s. He's got like those Terminator glasses.
Yeah, no, that's super like old school martial arts movie, like just nerd stuff that I love. All right, Mind Phase. Subscribe, like, share, click that little bell thingy, at the side. If you don't do it, I'm gonna come to your home, drag you outside, slap you in the nuts, and throw you down a well. That's from Mind Phase, a fan of the Light Kick podcast.
Thank you for that. That gave me inspiration to threaten the children better next week. That was, wow, couldn't have written a better one myself. That was good. Yeah. Like Thugnificent once said, stomp him in the nuts. I'm a stomp him in the nuts. Stomp him in the nuts.
All right.
Mike, to play us out, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Fuck it, we're going to do it live.
We'll do it live.
I said we'll do it live. In this crazy mixed up world where, yeah, I don't know. Things are just going awry. Like, my life is just a mess. Just remember 3 things. You got life, you got family, and you got this podcast. Take it easy, everybody.
Gang signs.
Guys.